points of doctrine a little bit more. What points of doctrine do you feel we're neglecting? And I think this was probably from a YouTube comment or something that you made in some of our modern circles. First, how would you define those who are in the LCMS who are also in modern circles, and what points of doctrine may we be missing or neglecting?
When you say modern circles, are you talking about like divine versus contemporary worship, or are you talking about a rural versus urban setting? Like, I'm not sure.
Yeah, fair. Okay.
You say modern.
Sure. Yeah, let's just talk worship then. Those that maybe are more modern in their worship expression, or contemporary, that's the word that gets thrown around, right? Versus those that are strictly traditional. Go ahead.
Okay. In regards to that, so I have a unique view on that, being that, like I come from, like I said, the spectrum of, great songs. I ain't gonna lie, I miss it. You know what I'm saying? But I do think that there is some things are a DA4A when it comes to, okay, I'll start it off with this. At some point, the organ was contemporary. The organ isn't some holy divine instrument. Like the tambourine is actually, if we want to play that game, the tambourine is actually more
an older instrument than the organ.
Right. So,
yes.
So it's really technical. But what I'm saying is the organ's fine but as long as the music or that part of the liturgy is Christ-centered, good theology, and it's reverent, I don't really see an issue with that. And I kind of, this is just me elaborating because I know some people's thoughts when they see a person of my pigmentally abundant self in front of them. I'm not saying people should get up there and be rapping or some hardcore metal band. I'm not saying that. You know what I'm saying? But I am saying there are different structures of Christian worship music and song that don't have the organ as lead, that might have the piano, might have a little Spanish guitar going, it might have somebody singing in different modes. Because even now, me and Delwyn laugh and joke about it that my natural rhythm count of 1, 2, 1, 2 doesn't always fit the German hymnal. Sometimes I don't know if they're going by the 3 count or what, but it catches me off guard. So in regards to that, people should be a DA4, but I do think there are standards, even in contemporary, that define this as Lutheran. Things like, I'll say like the Lord's Prayer, Confession, Absolution, the Nicene Creed, us connecting ourselves with the historic faith. So even though you might be singing some great new contemporary worship song, these things still should be inserted into the liturgy, not taken away, because we'll never out non-denom the non-denom. We have our distinctives.
I agree.
And one thing, when I was reading through the Book of Concord, like last night, I believe, I was reading through the section on the Mass, and it stuck with me when it said that, I actually have it right here, desire to continue, not to reject the wholesome, beneficial, and historic worship. Like those type of things I do think define us. Sure, they aren't, the things I mentioned aren't in the Book of Concord where it says you have to do the Nicene Creed, but there are things in our tradition, and per the Thessalonians verse, we do respect the traditions passed down, that I think even in a contemporary setting, as long as we're maintaining those key distinctives, there should be some freedom in a sense.
Hey,
don't disagree.
There's not much to add to what you said. I think we could agree around, and this is hard because we get into different contexts, but a general commitment to the order of the divine service, regardless of instrumentation. I think there could be some agreement there, and you, from the invocation, the benediction, and everything in between.
I think that would ease the arguments up a lot. Yep. If there was that base foundation of saying divine or contemporary, these aspects are definitional in regards to how we operate. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we already are talking about law, gospel, Christ crucified. Those things, we're not saying, but you get what I'm saying, more so in the sense of what the topics are going around is what I'm talking about.
So if you come to a contemporary service in our context, you're going to experience most of what you would consider the liturgical elements of a liturgical service. You're going to have the Lord's Prayer, you're going to have the confessions, you're going to have confession, absolution, you're going to have the Lord's Supper, and you're going to have a little bit more of a casual environment where people are not dressing up. Pastor's not wearing robes, right? And you're going to hear a mix of songs that you might hear on the radio, contemporary songs that you might hear on the radio. And actually, this is pretty cool.
New songs.
Lutheran authored songs, because we've got this incredible songwriters initiative coming out of Concordia Irvine, where there's some really incredible contemporary Lutheran worship songs, which are just absolutely fantastic.
Yep.
And the key thing is that we think in terms of preservation of liturgy, and liturgy teaches. It teaches and it confesses, right? And so that's the beauty of it. I can go on and on about the power of memorizing the Lord's Prayer because it's taught in worship every single time. I think, I would give this story. I was trying to comfort my mother-in-law, giving her some gospel in her final hours on earth. And I couldn't tell that she could recognize anything that I was saying. Right. But the moment I said the Lord's Prayer, she was able to join me, or at least, kind of participate in it, because it had been burned into her brain because of liturgy, right? Yeah, and that's the beauty beautiful. Of it.
Yeah, and we have contemporary at my church. We have divine service and a later one, contemporary. One thing I will mention is a lot of times when we have these conversations like this, and which it's a beautiful thing. We have a lot of cradle Lutherans as pastors and all throughout the whole synod. But because they haven't been in the wild, like they don't realize how sacred that Lord's Prayer is, meaning that like we never say it. As someone who grew up going to churches, different types of churches, my parents got divorced when I was 5. So I have my grandmother's church. I have my grandma's church. I have the church my mom went to, and my dad was a freelance. Okay. But numerous churches, we never said the Lord's Prayer. And one of the key distinctives, and it's so powerful, especially coming from the wild, is the aspect of me going to church and hearing a 5-year-old, an 85-year-old, everybody in unison, Our Father who art in heaven, just on everybody's heart, ingrained in them doing that. And that's not something because people grew up in it. They're not used to it. It's like if you eat New York steak all the time or Wagyu steak all the time, you don't appreciate it unless you had some Spam one day or some chuck steak. And you're like, man, you don't know what you have. Like, oh, this is just Wagyu. Nah, bro, that's Wagyu. Nah, you appreciate that.
I think that point is so well taken. Jack, do a follow up.
What's that?
Oh, yeah.